my name's John, and in this video presentation I'll show you how to run Transend Migrator from the command line. Normally Transend Migrator is run from the graphical interface. However, if you need to automate processes even further, you'd set up a command line or a batch process so that you can have little or no end user interaction. Normally when you start Transend Migrator and run it, you'd configure all the settings that you want to configure. Go in here and enable the migration. Press Start Single Migration or Batch Migration if you're running batch. The migration monitor, which you're seeing right now, would pop up and show you the stats of what's happening. So the migration continues on. Transend Migrator goes through each folder. It gives you all the rate information. Everything about your migration as whatever is happening right now will show up in this monitor. Notice right here too, you can bump up how many migrations could happen. For example, if you're running a batch migration for multiple users. So once this is finished, you'd say OK, OK, and you're done. That's how you run a graphical migration for Transend Migrator. But to transition to batch mode, where you want to do it from command line, save your configuration. Notice here at the title bar where all our settings are inside this configuration file. It's whatever you want to name it. I'm going to save this configuration as something else, and I'm going to do it into a short folder because it's just a lot easier to work with. How about inside Migrate? I'm going to call it let's call this batch. So now I've created a batch TMD file located in my c:\migrate directory. Now I'm going to create a batch file. Let's go ahead and start this back up and open up the help file. Click on Help, Contents, and look inside the batch processing section. Scroll down and you'll see an example on how to run Transend Migrator in command line. Basically, from the Transend Migrator installation directory, is saying run this executable /cmdl, which means run from command line, and then /f, follow the instructions in whatever file that you tell me to follow the instructions in, which is the TMD file. That's what we're going to do, and as well as I'm probably going to put in maybe one or two more switches in here. And if you scroll down, you'll see there's other options. I'll put in a couple other switches to show you how to set those so that I can reuse this configuration over and over again. So let's start Windows Explorer and go into the Transend Migrator installation directory, tm ship. I'm going to right-click New, Text File, and let's call this batch 001.bat. I'm going to right-click on that, Edit, and let's say we want to let's adjust this so we can see what we're doing. I'm going to say tm10.exe and /cmdl and /f and it's c:\migrate /batch.tmd. And there's another value I'm going to put in here. Notice this cmdl switch can also take a value. By default, we're going to write to that TMD file, and we can also prevent migration from happening if a migration has happened once. So I want to be able to run this over and over again. So I'm going to say cmdl, the value is going to be 1. That says basically ignore any migrated message flag. Don't try to write to that file, and if I want to run this multiple times, allow me to run it multiple times. So I'm going to say cmdl, and the value will be 1. So I'm going to say 1 space 1. And how about concurrent? If I had multiple users to migrate and I want to migrate more than one user at a time, I can go in here and say /concurrent. Now where's that switch? See /concurrent and the number of concurrent items. So I'm going to say /concurrent, and how about 2? And then that's it. Let's go ahead and save this. Close Transend Migrator. And let's go back into that folder, double click the batch file. Transend Migrator starts, and when it starts it runs the process monitor, the Transend Migration monitor, and it does the migration. That's how you run Transend Migrator from the command line and create a simple batch file. This will just run through just like it did before, and when it's done it's going to exit. Notice my concurrent migrations is set at 2. If you look at the help file, it's got some more examples. I mean, you can with the command line, which is nice now, with that text file that we created, which is the batch file, You can have some pre-processing commands or commands that you want to run before the migration happens, and commands that happens after the migration happens. Now with this batch mode, you can do almost anything that you want. A lot of people, when they create their TMD file, maybe they don't do that with Transend. Notice that this TMD file can be created with Notepad because all it is just a text file. You may have some type of process that creates the structure of this TMD file automatically, and then you can run this batch file automatically. That's a great way to do it, especially if you have thousands of users that will be migrated at different times. Anyways, that's a brief summary on how to run Transend Migrator from the command line. Thanks for watching.